Okay, now we can move further. Second way how we can access view child on the child property and child method. You can access child property as well as child method in your component file. Means your parent component file. How we can access that? For that, we can map that your child in your component file. So I already created the child 3. I just copy that selector and we can map that selector in your parent view. Okay. And first, we can create a simple UI in our child 3 component. Okay. To move further, first we have to create a simple UI in our child component. For that, we can come to such view file of child. We can create here simple. We create here one more property in child component. We create here property because I want to access that property as well in parent component. So we create here username as a property. Sorry, username. Whose type is a string, and initially we can mention that default data, default value. Okay, and that username will be displayed here. For that we use tag, and just we can string interpolation that username. Okay, then after that we can use here a button. On button click also we can display that data. So on button we click at the send, or okay, we can mention that button as a send. In that we can just create a event binding, that is a click, and we can use on send. Okay, on send. That on send method we have to create in our child component. Okay. Okay. Yes, Lokesh, your video is on. Please switch off your video. On send.
Yes.
On send, we just use a windowing function. Means your browser function. Alert is your browser function. Okay, we can use it, that just alert it the data. What will data we can alert it? For example, welcome to, we can mention here this dot username. We can just display welcome and your user. Fine. Now, first we check out this thing is working or not, properly working or not in your child component. In child component, we create here default value. By default, we can make it as a username as a default value. And when we click on that button, it will display the welcome to default value. The data is also visible. Okay. Now, I want to access that username and the on-send method in our parent component. Okay. On the parent component, we can create a button. Here we can create a button. If you want to access child property, we create access to child property for the button, and for the method also we create one more button. So we can just modify this UI. Okay. I created one div. Inside that I created one more div. Inside that I created one more div. The second div I can just rendering that app child. You can cut this and you can mention it here. So according to that we can use in that, and in that we can mention the button and use the button tag. On button we can mention that access child property. Again create one more button. Sorry, access child method. Okay, and we can just apply for the CSS for the proper displaying purpose. We can use a class and let's make it as a main div as a class name. We can create that class in our parent CSS and just we can display. We can use a display flex. It will be display properly. Okay, you can set the margin as well to 10 pixel. Use the margin. If you want to give the padding, we set the padding as a 5 pixel. Okay. Now, also I have to create the here class button div, btn div. Okay. On that btn div, we can create that class here. Button div. That button div is present in your main div. So you can make it CSS in that fashion as well. Okay. And we can mention that here margin as well 5 pixel. Okay. We can mention the padding as well. Sorry. 5 pixel. Also, I want to apply CSS to this button as well. So I just creating btn button. Okay. Means what is the meaning of that? We created a button div. Inside that button div, we use a button tag. So only that button tag is apply the CSS. Other, if you are using in a parent component, if you file you are using outside that div, you created a button. Okay, it may be happen. So that CSS is not be applicable for that button. Only apply the CSS those button that is created in the btn div class. Means whatever the btn div class is there, inside that we created the button, only that button will be applied the CSS. For that purpose, we mention in that way dot btn div button. Okay. And for we can mention that margin 10 pixel. Then if you want to use a padding, we use the padding for the 8 pixels. Okay. If you want to set a border radius, you can set the border is 5 pixels. Okay. Now check that what we will display. See here, access child property, access child property method. Here we can use a display flex, rendering side by side, child 3 component and default value. Okay. Clear, everybody?
Yes, Sumit.
If you want to apply one more here class, you can use it here. Class, for example, child div. And in the child div, we can apply also make it margin as well. Child view that present in your main div. Okay, so you can mention that for example margin left. You can mention that 20 pixel. Okay. See here, it gives the margin from the left only. I don't want to give margin from all sides. I want to give margin from the left. You want to increase that. See here. Okay. According to that, you can set that margin. If you want to set in pixel format, you can set pixel format. If you want to set percentage format, it can set also in the percentage format as well. If you are setting the percentage, it will take the whole div size or your browser width. According to that percent width, it is calculated and set that. Okay. So it depends how we can apply that. Just mention here 20%. Okay. Fine. Now, first we should see here whether it is working or not. The whatever the functionality we implemented right now. If we click on send button, it will display alert. Okay. Now I want to control the logic, or I want to access the property as well as method in our parent component. Okay. So that we can possible. Now come to our functionality. Now in our component file, here we have to create a view child, create a one property. Again, we use here view child @ view child. Okay, on that, here mention what you want to access. Okay, you want to access HTML element or you want to access any component, then we can mention here that component name. Before that, we mention here HTML element. If you want to access HTML element, we can use a template reference variable name of that HTML element. Here I want to access the child component. So mention here child component class name. Here, whatever the child component class name is, child3 component. You can copy that name and you can mention here child component. We have to import that quick fix import. In the upper side, it is a imported. Okay. Now create one more property here. For example, I mention here child component. Okay. Also, we have to mention that child component property on which type it is a child3 component type. Okay. So mention that it is not null. So we can mention that as a not null, that is exclamatory mark. Now we can access that child3 component in your parent component. For that, first I created here button and here means use the event binding. Mention the event handler. Okay. On access child property, open close bracket. Also, we can mention here another event, click event, and mention on access child method. Okay. First, we create the on child access child property here in your parent component. Same, I will create that on child access method as well here. Curly bracket. Okay. Now in this method, I will access child property. First, we can access the child property on access child property. Here we can just use this dot child component. We can make it dot and you can access that username. If you want to change that username, you can change it. You can mention that good name, me the Okay. Now check whether username of Smith Rapandi is changing or not, because that we can controlling our parent component. Okay. Initially, it is the default value. When we click on send, we will get welcome to default value. Now we can click on access child property button. I click that. See here, username is changed, and we click on this send button on the child method, child component. It will again display welcome to Sumitra Pandey. Okay, means you can access that child property into your parent component. Second, if you want to access a method, you can access child method as well in your parent component. See how we can access that. Simply, this we have a child component reference here. On that reference, we can call that onSend method, and we can directly access that onSend method here itself as well. Okay, we will check this. If you access child property, you can access the child property and display the Sumit property. Now I can access child method. If you click on the child method, it will display welcome to Sumitra Pandey. Okay, means that logic is controlled by the parent component. So some scenario we have to control a logic in a parent. We not be giving a logic performance or logic execution in our child component. Okay, for that we use a view child as well. Okay, clear these things.